Previously, we had talked about what you need to foil, and now let's put that together into a foil tutorial where we're going to be making beautiful bookmarks together. We're going to need quite a few different materials in order to make these bookmarks. So first of all, you are going to need all the pieces that you would need for foiling. So that is the superfine smooth cardstock, that's your foil, that is also your Mink machine or your laminator machine. Then there are a few things that you're going to need for the bookmark itself. You're going to need some glue tape, and I love this glue tape by Tombow. It's a permanent bond, so it will give you absolutely perfect adhesion without any sort of warping of your paper. And for that final touch that we're going to be doing where you're trimming each one of the edges, it will give you absolutely perfect sandwich edges every time. For anything that you purchase off of the Tombow website, you can always use the code AmandaArneill15 in order to get 15% off of your purchase at tombowusa.com. That's just if you want to. It can be combined with any other sales though, so if it's a sale like 30% or 40% off, stock up. Now a few more items are a black piece of cardstock, a hole punch, and also a beautiful bookmark tassel for your bookmark. I'm going to be honest, I did a series of bookmarks. I needed 15. The smallest number I could find was 100. So I'm going to be making lots and lots of bookmarks. But it's perfect. Now, you'll also need an iPad or the ability to get your lettering onto your computer. The final thing that you're going to need is this foil bookmark template that you can get down below and download onto Procreate on your iPad. Now let's look at how this template is set up. So using your Apple Pencil, click on your template once you have it installed, and then you'll be able to get started creating your bookmarks. Now these bookmarks are laid out so that there is an even amount of space on the horizontal and vertical sides so that you can get your bookmarks printed in the same place each time. This would be really important if you were printing double-sided, but for this we're actually going to print on 2 separate sheets and then sandwich those bookmarks together. In the layers of this template, you have a few different layers. There is the bookmark border template, which is the outside of your bookmark, and that is done with a dotted line. There is also the bookmark hole layer, which will show you approximately where you're going to be hole punching. Now, these layers should not both be on when you're printing. I'm going to show you the adjustments to make to these layers before you print, but for now, let's move on to our writing layer and start to write the names or content for our bookmarks. Let's start to write our names. Now, first, I just want to do some bookmarks for my daughters, so Lauren and Elise. Now, because I want to be able to make it double-sided, I'll need to have 2 Laurens and 2 Elises. That works just fine if you're only going to do 2 names. Otherwise, I would suggest writing a different name in each slot and then going through and just printing off 2 of those so that you have 2 copies. For now, let's get started writing a name. You can use this writing layer, or you can always add other layers to do your names on. I would suggest doing each name on a separate layer so that you can easily manipulate and move them and change them without having to worry about the other elements within your layer. I typically like to sketch out my words before I go in and ink them out. So just within the sketching, using one of these pencil type brushes can give you a nice sort of soft brush to be able to sketch with. Sketch out your first name until you have something that you like, and then we can go through and ink it. Once you have an idea of your design, in your layers, click the N to decrease the opacity of that layer. And then on a new layer on top, you can go through and either draw the outlines and fill in your letters, or use one of your calligraphy brushes in order to just do one shot through to letter it out. I personally, on my iPad, like to use a gel pen, letter in the outside lines of the letters, and then go in and fill it out. Once you have your name written out how you like it, you can go back in and just turn off the visibility of that sketch layer. Now, if you're only doing 2 names, you can simply take that layer with your good version, duplicate it, and shift it down. Make sure magnetic's on, and then when you shift, it will be in the exact same place. Now we'll move on to Elise's name. She's only 4, so she absolutely rejects the idea of her name being in cursive. E's look one way and they should always be that way. So hers, I'll do in printing. Again with the sketch layer first, then going in and doing the final layer of lettering on top. Now, when you are placing your words within your bookmark, you do want to sort of keep an eye on these suggested hole placements. That way you can center it not within the entire bookmark itself, but between the bottom of the bookmark and that dot. You also want to think about making it even on the top and the bottom as well, so that you have extra space there. Now, because we're going to be doing a sandwich effect, I also want you to give yourself a little bit more space than you would have around the border. So right now, if I was to trim at the border, that would leave like just enough space around the word. So what we want to do is scale down each one of these just slightly, because after we glue our 3 pieces together for the bookmark, we are going to be trimming a little bit more off of each side. So let's just go in and make each of these a touch smaller. You can simply use your selection tool, scale it down, and then it might actually be easier, rather than copying here, we'll just turn off that visibility, duplicate this layer that we've already made smaller, and shift that down. Again, if your magnetic selection tool is on, then it'll stay in a nice straight line. And Elisa's needs to be scaled down, so we have a little bit more space. Now, of course, you have extra space around here. You could decorate it with, anything that you want, any sort of design, hearts, but then that will use more foil. So if you just want to keep your foil use limited, then don't do that and just keep it to the names. There we go. All right. What I would like to do, I think, is maybe to put a little heart on the other side of theirs, but I'd like to do it in a different color. So that is also something that you could think about doing 2 strips of foil, because we're going to be putting this through as a single sheet. So if I was to do all of these, maybe in the rose gold foil and then the heart in the pink foil, I could do 1 wide strip of foil and then a thin strip of pink. But you want to try to make it so that all of the elements of the same color are going to be in a line. So one more time, I'm going to shift each of these over just a little bit to give a touch of space for a heart afterwards. If you draw the heart on one and then you like how it looks, you can simply take that heart and duplicate that layer to all of the other bookmarks as well. I think I might flip it. Now that we have all our elements placed onto the bookmarks, you're going to want to turn off the layer that has the dots. So if you scroll back down, it's bookmark holes. Turn that one off by simply clicking that check mark to turn the visibility off. And then your border here, you have 2 options. You can turn it off and then sort of eyeball your cuts, or what I would suggest is just taking the opacity of that down to about 35% so you have very light lines so that you'll know where you should be going and cutting. But it will make it a little bit trickier with your foil because then those lines will burn into your plastic cover. So let's turn those off, and I will include the measurements for you down below so that you know how far from each side to trim your bookmarks. Now that the visibility is off, we can send this to the printer, and remember, it's your laser printer you want to send it to, and then we will start foiling. Make sure you're using your nice, superfine printing white smooth cardstock so that you'll get your best foil results. Time to print. Now you only have to print enough bookmarks so that you have one side and the other side ready to go. So if you want to have one side with a name and the other side with maybe like a message or a special quote, then that would be something that you'd want to figure out. I printed 1 bookmark for each kid and then another bookmark for each kid because I couldn't decide which one I wanted pink and which one I wanted gold. So I'm going to swap and see how it turned out. This will be another test of the mink foil, pink this time. So once you have them all printed off, you're going to put your foil to cover any area of the toner. So I'm going to cut a rose gold strip for the hearts and a rose gold strip for the names, and then a pink strip for the names and a pink strip for the hearts, and put them through the mink machine. Now, one way that you can save a little bit on your foil is if you have small elements like this, you can reuse bits of foil that haven't already been used. It's not like the toner where after it's gone through the machine, it's no longer usable. So let's peel this off of our design and then put it on top. I'm just going to cut it so that I have the exact perfect pieces. Again, once you're done with your machine, make sure, if possible, that you put it outside or at least into a well-ventilated area, which apparently means right beside me here, as it cools down. Just get the chemicals out. So then we can do the reveal. And again, this is the Heidi Swap mink that the pink is in. Not terrible. The girls will be like, it's pink, it's shiny, I love it. And then this is the Deco foil, which I have always found to give perfect coverage. I don't think they have pink yet though. So there's pink with rose gold hearts, and this set is flipped. I figure that they can have one bookmark for at home for their home reading, and then one that they can have in their book bag at school. Very nice. Pretty good coverage on both of those. Now it's time for us to cut the bookmarks to size. So I have a slide cutter, which will give really, really nice cuts. This one's a Making Memories one, but I also have a Fiskars. So whatever slide cutter you have, or even one of those large, you might chop your thumb off cutters, will work. You are going to first cut 1/2 inch off of every single edge all the way around the page. And then you can start to cut the individual bookmarks. Your bookmarks right now are going to be 2.5 inches tall. So after you've cut that 1/2 inch off each side, you can go through and slice 2.5 inches all the way along. Now the next thing that you need to cut is your black piece of paper. This is sort of like making a bit of a tuxedo out of your bookmark. Of course, if you wanted to, you could just glue these back to back, but I love the idea of having the black sandwiched in between. It makes it really nice and substantial feeling, and it also gives that extra little fantasticness in the middle. It will just give it that elegant look that all 4-year-olds and 6-year-olds are dying for. So cut from your black paper 4 of your 2.5 by 7.5 inch strips. Now that we've cut these pieces, you can put this to the side. We are going to be using it again, so don't put it away completely. Next up, it's time to start putting our pieces together. So you're going to take the 2 pieces front and back and make sure that your side for your dots is always at the same side of your bookmark. So at the top is probably the easiest way to do it. You're going to use your Tombow glue tape. This is a permanent adhesive, but it's pretty forgiving right at first, and 1 piece of black, and we're going to be sandwiching the black in between our 2 pieces of bookmark. Take your glue tape and run it all the way around the edges. Now, you want to try to stay close to the edge, but we are going to be trimming another 1/8 of an inch off of each of these edges. So if it's not right up against, that's okay. But you want to make sure it's within 1/8 of an inch. We'll go all the way around on the black and then stick it to one of our front sides. Once you have all 4 sides taped, you don't even have to worry about putting anything in the center. You're going to take your name and put it as straight as possible. And you'll see that there's a little bit of black coming out of the sides. That's why we do that final cut, just to make sure it's absolutely crisp and perfect. Flip it over to the other side and put that same line of glue all the way around. All 4 sides, you're going to put your next piece on top, but just take a quick peek to make sure that you know which side is your whole side. Press it firmly on there, and you will already feel how nice and sturdy that is. Picking this up, it's like, that is a bookmark I'm going to keep forever, or until I lose it because I'm 4. Do that to all of your bookmarks, then we're going to come back and batch cut all of them to the final perfect size. You might notice that for this one, I cut my Lauren pieces a little bit on the small side. So if that ever happens, I always try to center the name inside the black. That way it will be consistent from top to bottom, and when you trim the edges, it will still maintain that nice centered look. The next step now is to trim each of these edges. So I go through, and if I'm not too worried about them all being the exact same size, I'll eyeball a little bit and cut it off of each edge, but it's about 1/8 of an inch that you want to cut off of each edge, and that'll give you a perfect, nice sandwich edge. 2 whites with the black line right in the middle. Now that we have this perfect, crisp sandwich edge and foil on both sides, it's time to hole punch up at the top and then put our tassels in. Now, when you're hole punching, if you feel comfortable with it, you can just eyeball it. I typically will use this line that's in the punch itself as a guideline for where I should be punching in. So I'll put it in just a little bit further and then punch in the center. And we've got a hole ready for the tassel. Do that to all of them. It always makes it faster if you can batch these steps. So do all of your lettering together, do all of your foiling together, do all of your cutting together, gluing together, trimming together, and drop those all over the floor. Do all of your tasseling together. Just stick the end of your tassel through. Make sure that all parts of it go through so that you don't lose a single string in there. And then loop it, and you have got yourself a perfect foiled bookmark. It might take a little while to get one of these done, or a few of these, but I am sure that the recipient of anything personalized and thought out like this will be delighted to have a beautiful bookmark like this sitting inside their book. It's just a really nice way to show someone that you were thinking of them, and to encourage them to get off their iPad and read a good book.